Hi, my name is Sean with RSA Solutions, and I'll be your guide through this webcast today. What you're viewing on your screen currently comes from RSA Solutions website, and this is depicting kind of a 3D visualization of a factory. And I just want to review that with you because I think it will help us as we're stepping through the actual application or software today to understand a little bit about some of the things that you can do. The area labeled number 1 is meant to depict the office. And so one of the first things that we would think about in Production Coach is being able to import data from a variety of sources. The industry standard of CAD/CAM solutions, whether that's a wood CAD/CAM, a cabinet vision, a microvellum, a cut-right, or even data from other sources in forms of Excel, we can help you with to be able to make it so that you can import data directly in to Production Coach. That would be the work orders. Not necessarily is there an exact definition of the things that you have to do in the office versus the factory, but for example, some of our customers would utilize the office to be able to do planning. You'll find out as we move through this that we have an integration with Google Calendar for being able to share calendars in a really amazing way. It gives you a great way to be able to schedule, factoring in the production goals compared to the capacity that you have in the factory per station, which is really awesome. We're integrated with Dropbox for all the electronic documentations, and so that might be attached in the office. And then in some cases, the office might even control what is going to go onto a shipping ticket. We would imagine that whether at the shipping dock or at the job site, that we might want to have real ways to be able to track and make sure we're shipping 100%, delivering 100%, and installing 100%. And so those are some really, really good things. Then there's a few other management of things that you can do from the office. For example, we all have timekeeping modules for the purposes of payroll or work order costing. And so that just gives you a little idea that while it's very automated to be able to import into, you do have additional functions possible in the office area. And the number 2 station is meant to depict first operation. For some of you, that's going to be PanelSoft. For others of you, it may be nested base router. And maybe for some of you, it's even a combination of those. But generally, our customers want to be able to track as work orders are entering into production to be able to know when they've started, when they've been completed. We have a variety of ways to be able to manage tracking. In some cases, depending upon machines, being able to read directly from the machine controller. In other cases, being able to scan the patterns and update all the parts in the pattern. Of course, you have the ability to scan the barcode of the part, and we can even do what's going to be demonstrated here today called a print to scan. Basically, a barcode to say I've started and a barcode to say I've been completed. Number 3 is depicting that not all areas of your factory have to utilize Production Coach. For some of our customers, they would care about tracking through operations such as edge banding or horizontal boring, but for others, because they tracked at first operation, they've got parts moving pretty fast through panel processing, so they may or may not choose to track at those locations. 4 is something that we'll cover today, and it's something really flexible and a really powerful thing, giving you the ability to scan parts and have them organized automatically by assembly or by cabinet, giving you all kinds of information so that we've made sure that we have everything that's making its way properly to assembly. I think during the demonstration that will make more sense, but it's a very powerful organization tool and gives you tracking and accountability of parts just before assembly. And 5, for those of you who do assemble, or those of you flat pack, literally being able to pull parts from a sorted bin, being able to scan a part label and to be able to see 3D visualizations if we're importing data from WCAD-CAM, Cabinet Vision, or Microvellum. Really helpful, can fire automated instructions, generate labels for the assembly or the product, and of course update the status as well. 6 is depicting the staging. For some of our customers, they don't have the luxury of going directly from assembly onto a truck. In some cases, they're being kitted and palletized or organized into specific areas of the factory, getting ready for the perfect timing to be able to ship. 7 is depicting the shipping, being able to do that with the ability to scan a product label, a kit label, or to even be able to utilize RFID to read what is going on to the truck to make sure that before the truck door leaves, we have a 100% of exactly right what's supposed to be on the truck. Then when we move to item number 8, this would be our utilities or web applications for being able to bring the production coach environment outside of the factory to a web application to where you're able to track, of course, what's being delivered, to be able to manage damaged part alerts, to create documentation about the actual job site condition, and that can happen both at delivery or at installation. So that's kind of a rough overview. Hope that will make this experience today a little bit easier to understand. I'm going to fire the production coach application, and for today's session, I have created a variety of different logins. And so you'll see those on your screen. One of those is going to be an office station, one panel processing, one sorting, one assembly, and one shipping. For today's webcast and the depth of things that we can get through, I think that will be a good example. So from the same computer, I'm going to do all these different functions so that you can easily see. And so I'll go ahead and log in to the office, and let's take just a moment to talk about the interface of Production Coach. First of all, it has to be really clean and really simple. This is something that is widely used across the factory, and so it doesn't need to be something complicated. It needs to be obvious what you do, that it can help you along in your job, and that it's very easy to interact with. If you'll notice, there is a pane on the left-hand side that says work orders and some names of work orders below those. Whatever work order that we're selected on is what is displaying as part of that. And the upper section would be the assemblies. That might be the cabinets, the countertops, the drywalls, whatever kind of stuff. And down below would be the items that we want loose from the assembly. That's easily configurable, and it varies from our customers. For example, some of our customers don't install pulls on cabinet doors, and so those will get shipped to the job site and packed and put in at installation instead of assembly. For others, it might be molding bundles, hardware bags, or whatever kinds of things that you don't want, that you want removed from the assembly instruction. So a little bit more about the interface. If I select on the actual job status or the work order status button here, what it's going to allow me to do is see the finite details of what's going on with that work order. In this case, we can see that we have a color coding system by each of the stations. Green would mean not only has it been started, but it's also been completed. Yellow would indicate that it's partway in progress, but not complete. And then red would indicate that we haven't started with this work order at those stations. And so you'll see that we're making some progress across it, but it's not all complete. There's also a button here, very helpful. If I want to see what has not yet made it through a station, I can see that instantly as well. So really nice for that. Also, while we're working inside of this, we have the job information. Here, we're giving you a collection of, for example, all of the hardware that's going to be required for this work order. In this case, my system is displaying that I am actually purchasing outdoors, and so I needed that information all together for my buyout items in order to be able to produce this order. Before I go any further, what I'd like to do is explain the rest of the interface after importing a work order. So I'm going to come here and say production import, and I'm going to go select a work order that I want to be able to import at this time. And so now it has imported what is named a PM004, and now it's displayed on the screen, and so we can see all the assemblies and the loose items. You might notice in my case, I told the system that I wanted it to keep separate these adjustable shelves instead of having those put in an assembly. Didn't want those jiggling around, and so I'll pack those, and that will be the way that they work. As an example of that, let me move my docking station out of the way. If I selected on one of these and said that I wanted to view the labels that we have created for this, we'll now see I'm going to create one on screen. Give me just a second. And so now I have created a label on screen, so we'll go jump over to my desktop, and I will pop open this just to give you an example. Now, in this case, I didn't give it any particular rules. I just told it that I wanted to make a pack of these 12 pieces. However, there's also automated functions for creating of kits where I could define specific quantities that I want per kit. For example, if I weren't going to be installing the poles on a cabinet, I might actually want to define and say, hey, I don't want to have more than 25 in a kit. If I imported a work order that had 74 poles in it, it could automatically create 3 different packs for me as we're moving across. The next button in sequence is the job information or the work order information. And what I'm going to tell you here is this is about supplementing the data that we imported. So there might be some things that your CAD/CAM might not know. In this case, I'm going to give it an address. I'm going to use a delivery date, and it's going to seem silly, but I want to use today, and I'll use the 16th for the installation date of this. I'll explain why in a moment. The system is going to help you manage the things that need to be managed and allow you to just allow other things to happen. So I want to cause some problems with the schedule. I'm going to select a shipper and an installer. For this, as you would imagine, this is utilizing Google Calendar, so you can have individual calendars for your different ship methods or different installers, and those are unlimited. I'm also going to create a planned schedule, and in Production Coach, you can have an unlimited number of back scheduling methods. I'm going to choose a real simple one for this example called 5-day production, and I think it will make sense as we move along to the calendar. I'm also going to add a numeric value to this. And you might be thinking, Sean, why are you adding a numeric value? Well, when we are displaying for you the load that has been placed on a station over a date or a date range compared to your productivity goals, we are showing it to you in 3 different metrics: the number of parts or products, the number of sheets, and the numeric value. And the numeric value can literally be anything that you want. I have some customers that use it for the value of the job. For others, the factory hours estimated. You can even break apart the numeric value based on the type of job to set whatever kinds of levels that you want of this. I'm going to go ahead and save this data for just a moment. So now we've supplemented our work order. While we're moving across, we're going to move to the right-hand side of the screen, and we're going to see a few more icons. The first one is the direct access to Dropbox. So here, any of the documentation that you might have wanted to attach to this work order is instantly on-demand accessible. One of the features of Production Coach is helping our customers move to a modern paperless factory. There's also built-in chat functions, so you have the ability to select the station that you want to be able to chat to and to be able to have those communications. One of the things that we wanted to do is not only improve the communication between the office and the factory, but even where we provided documentation, if there's a question, instead of having to come travel through the factory to the office, being able to utilize functions like chat or department to department. I'm going to go ahead and click on the link for the Google Calendar. What you're going to notice about my calendar is that I have it intentionally in such a way that it's only displaying this one work order. I'm not running a real factory, and of course yours would be a lot more busy with things. You could be looking at it by a month, a week, a day to be able to see what it is you need. In this case, I'm going to stay at a month view just so we can see what's happening. First of all, let's notice that the entry of PM004 is white. If we'll notice in the bottom left-hand corner, you can have a customizable legend for, you get to name the stations whatever you want and set your own color coding for it. And the purpose of that would be so that when I glanced at a calendar, I don't have to go look and wonder what's the status of all the work orders. I can see which stations that they've been completed in a linear order just by seeing the color coding of those. So that makes it real nice. Just to make sure that we understand a little bit about how Google Calendars work, you'll notice right now that we're set on deliveries all. I scheduled this with our truck. If I looked at the calendar for deliveries pickup, you'll see that they don't have anything scheduled. So everybody can have their own view of what they're supposed to be doing. I scheduled installer 1 on the 16th. I did not schedule installer 2 so that they have nothing on their calendar. And again, we're only looking at one work order. Let's go look at this from a progress standpoint. And I'm going to say, hey, I want to turn on shipping, stage, assembled, sorting, and panel processing. So now I'm looking at this from a variety of calendar views to see all that needs to happen about PM004. So we would notice that this planned schedule has now calculated when it needed to begin or be complete in panel processing, and that was by the 3rd. It needed to be sorted by the 4th, assembled by the 7th, staged by the 8th, and shipped today. And so hopefully that's understandable. You might notice that there's a little red out to the right of all those entries. If you're staying on schedule with what you're supposed to be doing, those will all be green. However, if you have any circumstances where something is running behind, it's going to instantly alert you. So it makes it very easy and very visual to know what's happening in your factory and whether you're going to be able to get work orders out as you have promised or intended to do. Let's turn this down for a moment and look at only one station for a moment. I'm going to turn off shipping, stage, assembled, and sorting. And so now we're just viewing panel processing. I'm going to click into the date here that is scheduled on my system. And if you'll notice at the bottom of your screen, this is now turned on the evaluation of the load on that station, this one work order, compared to the productivity goal of sheets, parts, or products, or numeric values. Not only can I look at it from a selection of a date, I could also look at it from a date range, and it will reevaluate based on those production goals. For many of my customers, they meet on Friday afternoon and set their schedules for what they're planning to do the next week. And so being able to see how you're doing compared to your production goals is rather important. Just so that we can understand how the setup of this works, very ingenious and easy to set up, I'm going to go to this panel processing, and I'm going to say, hey, how did I set and tell the system how much it can do? I came in here and said, hey, I want you to be able to be between 50 and 80 products, between $5,000 and $10,000, between 50 and 80 sheets, or however you want to set that. So you're able to set those metrics for each of your stations, and so then it's going to calculate based on those things. We're reading in the parts and products from the CAD/CAM. We're reading in the number of sheets, and we're utilizing whatever you've applied for a numeric value. You also have the ability, based on the different planned schedules, to tell the system how many days before an event such as shipping do I want this to occur on the calendar. I think that hopefully it makes sense. The purpose of having multiple planned schedules is because not all work orders are the same. I hope that we could agree that a millimeter, a laminate job flowing through the factory is going to be much different than a high-end veneer finish job. Different stations, different times, different orders, lots of things about it that are different. So we give you complete flexibility to be able to have the stations that you need. Okay, enough about setup. That's probably boring. Let's go back to our deliveries for a moment, and I want to click into this entry just so that you can see a few things. First of all, the address that I put in now is going to fire out Google Maps. So if you've got a truck driver, you've got a project manager, you've got an installer, whatever it is, they're able to get turn-by-turn instructions directly from the system very easily. And then, of course, also be able to access the documentation that's available from any of the production code stations. So you have literally directly from the calendar ability to know what's going on in your factory, what's the progress, and to be able to access any of the documentation for those. That's kind of a high-level overview of the calendar, but we've got a lot of stuff to cover today, so I'm going to keep moving on. Yet while we're here in the office, I want to do one last thing, and that is I want to create a packing list. We're working on PM004, and so I'm going to go select PM004, but I want to spread this out so you can see the level of detail here. So we have the detached items and the products and all that kind of stuff for it. And this is really great, and in some cases, we just want to ship a work order. But I just want you to be aware that you also have the ability inside of this to be able to select or unselect things. I could even go grab something from a different work order and include it as part of this packing list. If I'm doing a commercial job, it may be broken up into multi-work orders, and the job site might have reasons for me to be able to mix and match all of this kind of stuff together and keep it organized. What I want you to see is that PM004 is still in the list. However, now if I open it up, the only items that are selectable happen to be the two items that were not part of the original packing list. So I'll make a second packing list here as well. So now we have all of our items, and we can see that they're here and available for us to be able to work with. So for now, I'm going to consider this to be all that we're going to do from the office station. So I'm going to close it down, and I'm going to open back up the original splash screen, and I'm going to log in as panel processing. And so here at panel processing, there's a variety of things that we can do, but obviously we want to make some progress with our order PM004. Before I do anything here, I just want to show you that when we look at the status of this, we haven't done anything yet. So we know that we've imported it in, and its status is set to ready for production, but it hasn't completed any of those stations. I'm going to use, so that you can see on screen, what's called a print to scan. So in this case, I'm going to scan a first barcode that will tell the system that we began, and a second barcode to tell it we're completed at that particular station. So now here's the scan. So the only thing that you should see that is different, hold on one second. So the only thing that you should see that's different is in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, there is a box that turned green, and now it says clock out. I just want to point that out, and I'll cover timekeeping a little bit further along, but the system can be automated, so just as you're doing your work, it's actually tracking work order time for you. Let's say that I'm done doing the panel processing of this PM004, so I'm going to scan the last barcode. And so now what you'll notice is that the system has changed the status of these items. So if we went and looked at this from a progress standpoint, now we would see that panel processing has indeed changed, and now the status, and it's completed those. I'm going to take you back to the calendar one time for 1 second, and then I'll close it down. I want you to guess what color PM004 should be on the calendar. If we followed along and looked at the legend, we'll see that instead of it being the original white, it's now gray. It's indicating to me that, hey, this work order has now completed at this first station in the factory. So hopefully that's a little bit helpful to understand. Again, from a tracking standpoint, we can scan the barcode of the part labels. We can scan patterns to update parts. In some cases, we can read the machine controllers, and we have the print to scan capability as well. Not to leave off, and also mention that some of it can be also done with RFID, for example, at shipping. And it could just be that the reader is seeing what's passing through the barrier. We're also now doing RFID for items that can't easily be labeled. For example, a 5-piece door or things that need sanding and finishing, being able to insert the RFID chip inside of the element and to be able to pass it by readers for tracking as well. So really, really cool. Even strategies where there's a supply chain. I mentioned in my data earlier that I set my system up to have buyout doors for it, and so RFID could be applied and associated at the door manufacturer, and when I receive those, I'm able to read those into my factory and track them through production. I'm going to go ahead and close this station, and I'm going to open up the station that was number 4 on the chart, and it is going to be relative to sorting. And so here at sorting, I have RPM 004, and I'm going to access the sorting racks. I might mention to you that it varies pretty widely by our customers how they choose to do sorting, whether they're utilizing mobile carts or they're using fixed racks. That there really is a lot of flexibility to the way that this can be utilized. You might notice that in my particular case, I have a sorting rack that actually has 12 slots on it, meant for 12 products. You'll see that if I scan any barcode, so let's assume just for a moment that we've released a work order that has, our customers go between 30 and 40 cases usually in a work order. Let's use 35 as a happy median, and let's say that there's 10 parts per case. That means we've got 350 parts flowing through panel processing that may be grouped by like edge material, by like part, by something, but they're not organized properly by product. And so I can just scan parts as they're making their way through panel processing. And the first thing it's going to tell me is which carts or rack that I actually need in this case. Because the work order PM004 was relatively small, it's going to fit on my 12-bin rack, and so that's why it told me only to get rack A. Had this been a 35 cabinet order, it would have said go get rack ABC or ADF, depending upon what was available, because it would need more than one cart to be able to sort all the products. As soon as I say OK to that, you'll notice that bin number 7 is flashing red. In the lower left-hand side of the screen, you'll notice that we also have a legend. And so it's easily able to see which bins are available, which bins are assigned, which bins are in progress, and which bins have all of the right parts within them. I'm going to go away and scan a few more parts in. I'm not going to do 350 for our example today, but I'm going to scan some, so if you just watch the screen, I think you'll see that it's very easy to use the system, and whoever is doing this literally only needs to know how to squeeze a barcode scanner and point it at the barcode of the part, and the system is doing it for them automatically. Now, I scanned just enough parts today to turn one of the bins green, and that, of course, is telling us that we have all the parts available for assembly on that. If for some of our customers using fixed racks, they'll use a reverse screen so that assembly is seeing the proper numbering system for it as well. It's really a fantastic system for doing this. Our customers tell us that it's reducing material handling by as much as 90%. It's also giving us an account of all the parts and pieces coming, because we want to avoid assembly having to chase down parts or trying to put something together and not having everything that they need. If I'm done scanning all of my parts, you don't want as many blue as I have today in real production, but let's say that you did have 1 or 2 bins that there just weren't all the parts for. You can literally click a button and to be able to see inside of a bin to see which parts have not yet been done. So I can either view this by which parts are inside or which parts that are missing. Oh, I can identify, maybe in this case, maybe a label fell off. I can tell that it's a left side, but I need more information to identify it. Okay, so now I can see its size. I can see it's to a 3-drawer product. So I can identify, okay, this is it and its material. So here, I could easily tell this, I'm going to go ahead and manually sort it without a label because I'm not going to need it from now on. It's going to have a product label. Maybe as I'm scanning, I notice that something has a problem. I'm going to select on this bottom shelf and say, hey, I want to create a damaged part report, and you can have your own list of reasons or descriptions of what damage means so that it's meaningful big data for you to utilize and evaluate into the future. I'm going to say it was damaged by assembly, and so now that's even creating an alert in the system. Notice that that bin is now flashing orange because it has a damaged part that hasn't been dealt with yet. We'll see as we move through this and go correct the problem with the damaged part, that then it will turn yellow, letting everybody know that it's coming back in progress. So if you would, just remember bin 7 has all of its parts. I'm going to close down sorting for a moment, and I'm going to open up assembly, and this is really amazing automation for assembly as well. I don't know that I've spoken to one of our customers that didn't increase the throughput of their assembly by 30 or 40 or even more percent. Literally, it's going to give me easy capability. I would pull parts from bin number 7, and I'm just going to scan any one of those parts. When I make one scan of one of those parts, it's now going to change and update the system. It's going to create a 3D visualization of the product that I'm building. It's going to show me all the parts. If I want to see where they live in the assembly, I can just click on it. If I want to be able to hide anything, there's my front. I want to turn, and be able to say, hey, I'm hiding this, or turning it back on to see inside of it. I got full control if I need to see below it, behind it, anything that I need to do, and all the hardware that I need for it. The great thing is that it's also changed the status of this product to assembled, and it has generated for us, and I'll go do this manually on screen. Normally it would automatically kick out a label for you, but I will just do it here on screen so that you can see it. And this is just an example of a label. Realistically, any data that we have can be put on the label itself. And so we'll go look at my desktop, and we'll open up PDF1. And so now we'll see that we have a product label for this cabinet. It has now a barcode that when I scan it, it's going to count the product and all the parts and pieces directly onto it. If we went and looked at our progress for this work order, we'll see that, of course, we've done all of our panel processing, that we've done some of our sorting and some of our assembly. And we have one damaged part, so I can see lots of details about what's going on. For some of our customers, they want to be able to kit or palletize various things. And so let's say that I'm a company that does want to do some of that. I'm going to tell this that I want to be able to palletize. So I'm going to tell this that I'm going to make a kit. And now I'm going to scan product barcode on to this pallet. And whenever I'm done with this, I have the ability to, of course, turn this off and to be able to say that now I want to be able to see the barcode that's going to be for the pallet. So I put them on there, I wrap them up, and I am now ready to create one barcode that will represent the entire pallet, so that I only have to scan or read one thing onto the truck or at staging or wherever I'm doing it. So now in this pack 2, if I scan that barcode, it's going to count these 3 products updated to whatever status that we were after. So that's pretty cool. For some of our customers, they want to plan staging as well. I just kind of made a little area here in mind and used alphanumeric to create 24 unique spaces to be able to warehouse or to prep work orders coming into the system. I can see that at A18 I've got something already staged. I'll just go ahead and use A01. I can define in my staging what I want to go into it, and even have multiple staging areas for the same work order. For this simple selection, I'm going to say, give me all the assemblies and all of the loose items going into the same area. So now everyone knows where this work order is being staged. I'm going to come and close this assembly for a moment. and I'm going to open up the shipping. And this is a really important station. Man, helped our customers tremendously, and not only shipping 100% accurate, reducing or eliminating the calls from the job site that could be holding stuff up, knowing that they're having to remake things that they've already done, whatever that is. And so it's really powerful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the actual packing slip that we have done, and I'm going to scan products onto this truck. So when I do this, notice that it's flashing green, giving me good visualization, and now I have a date and time stamp for exactly when that was scanned onto the truck. When I do another one, it's giving me good, perfect feedback. Another one, and let's do one more. Now, something that I want you to notice that this will do is the reason I made the second packing slip was to show you what happens if you try to scan something onto the truck that doesn't belong. If I scan this, it is now flashing a warning, and it is telling me, hey, that's actually associated with pack 1, not this packing list that we're on. So it's great information. It helps me be able to ship, or our customers be able to ship 100% accurately 100% of the time. So that's really a great thing for sure. I'm going to close this down for a moment, and before the truck leaves, I want to click on one button, and I want to be able to generate a report. Oops, 1 second. I want to generate a report that is going to show me all of the items that we have on this particular packing slip. We have 22 items, and I have shipped 4 of them. So if we let the truck go right now, we'd have 18 back-ordered items. That wouldn't be good, but I think that you can imagine you want to get the quantity to 0 before the door closes. So that's what it's going to do for you in shipping as well. While we're here, I'm going to log back into the office one time because I want to show you about the management of damaged parts. And so here we are at PM004 in the office station, and you'll notice that we're going to have a warning center pop up, flash, and let us see that there was, hey, it's PM004, there's a damaged part. The reason is it was done by edge banding, date and time stamp. This is the station that reported it. It's affecting one product. If I need to see more details of it, I can even see its barcode, its material, all the information that I need to be able to manage this. And when I've done what I'm going to do with it, I'm saying, hey, this is now being corrected. The office has now fixed this, and it's now being sent back out through production to be redone. If we look at the system, we'll now see that that product, that B3DR, is now showing up as yellow. So we're alerting everyone downstream that this part is making its way back through production. So it's just about helping with communication, helping me along, and making the job really easy for what it is that we're doing. I'm going to pop open for just a moment web. We got a few minutes left, and so I want to show you application and interface here for being able to log in. Hope I can remember what that is. Good. So there's 2 ways that we can look at this. First of all, from a timekeeping standpoint, we'll just tell this that I want to look at this. Here I could say, hey, I want to log in for the purpose of payroll. If you'll notice in this bar above, my name happens to be admin in this case, but I'm now clocking into time, but it's not being associated with a work order, a department, or a task. I just made it into the factory, and I'm now on the clock. When I'm ready, I literally can go select from my list of work orders. Here's my PM004. I could say to this, hey, I'm going to be working in this particular area on this particular task, and now it could be tracking more finite data for me. I can, of course, switch from task to task. I can switch from department to department, and then, select the task. So I'm collecting very granular data about this work order. And then, of course, you can switch from work order to work order as we're moving across and do whatever it is that we would like. So it's a really great way to be able to do this. Basically what it's allowing is at the point of being able to log off or to clock out, it's going to give me the ability, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, to be able to even see what it is that I've done. So now I'm clocked out, and if I wanted to be able to see my history as a user, I could even see my punches for the day, alert someone if I didn't do a proper clock in. Again, it's used for the purpose of general payroll, but it also can be used for finite work order costing as detailed as you want. Just to make sure that the names made sense when I said department, that might be assembly department or panel processing or finishing or shipping department. And if we think about tasks, let's just say we're talking about panel processing, maybe it's edge bander, maybe it's horizontal boring, maybe it's CNC. So you can have very, very good leveled data for that. And so I want to get out of here. I think I want to go out one more. And I want to go to delivery scan for just a moment as well. And so what this is doing is making available all that's happening in our factory via the LAN, our local area network, and making it available on the web. So here I've got PM004. I could select on this, and now I'm able to see all of the items that are in this work order. And so whether I'm scanning those off of the truck or whatever I'm doing, I'm going to say this is delivery and I want to check all for this, but I noticed that one of these has a problem. I'm going to create an alert for this, and I'm going to give it a reason. I'm going to say, hey, it fell off the truck. I'm going to add some notes to it. It's now going to ask me, is this all part? No, it was actually just the right door for this, and so I'm actually confirming what's been damaged in a precise way. I can even attach images from the job site, whatever that might be that we want inside of the system as well, and I'm going to confirm that this has happened. So whether I'm doing deliveries or I'm doing installs, it's giving me incredible tools to be able to use via the web to be able to communicate directly back with our production coach system in real time. So well, I say real time, a couple minute lag because this is a web server that's got to trickle feedback to your LAN, but within just moments you have all of this data. We have a few minutes left before our session's over, and I just want to make sure that we're covering whatever it is that's important to you. This really is not about me wanting to show you something in particular, but for you to get an understanding of the Challenges Award-winning production coach solution that is doing just tremendous things for our customers. If you do visit our website at rsasolutions.com, you can go to the production coach page and you can watch all kinds of videos. We host a number of factory tours. We, of course, display at the major trade shows, and there's just a lot of great information there from the web page as well. So that would be another great resource to do. I'm going to keep holding on here for a few minutes and see if anybody has any questions. I'm going to go look at attendees to make sure that everyone is okay. So now I see questions coming. Okay, very good. Who's entering all the information on the work order at the beginning? That's what we want to make sure that we don't have to do. If you're running a WoodCAD CAM, a Cabinet Vision, a Microvellum, a CutRite, or even other solutions, we can import in that data directly, even from an Excel file. So you don't want to have to manually enter in what's already came from a CAD CAM system if you have that. During this webcast, I clicked one button for import and went and selected a file, and everything was there. So it says, do you have more detailed training online? When I read training, I think about a customer and how they actually use our system or how they learn to use it. So let me answer that first. If you did decide that you wanted to become a customer of Production Coach, of RSA, the first thing is you would be assigned a project manager. And that project manager is going to do a kickoff meeting with you to review the commercial details of the sale, the number of stations, the modules, that kind of stuff. make sure everybody's on the same page, another check. And he's also going to collect some data from you and go develop what's called a project plan. And when he has completed the project plan, that will get submitted back to you, and you will review and hopefully sign off with little or no corrections or changes to the project plan. So now everybody knows exactly what the game plan is. Once that has been done, and once you have hardware in place, by the way, we review that with you as well while we are working with you to make sure that you get the right specifications for hardware and all that. Once you verify for us, a project plan is signed off and you verify that the hardware is in place, we come on remotely and we install a SQL database, SQL Express database, either on your server or a light-duty PC. It's not very heavy in application, so we can do that, and that way we're managing the data, and we install the software then on all of the computers representing stations to make sure they can communicate with the database. Once we have done that, we plan then to come on site and to be able to do the integration. And so usually we're on site 3-4 days, depending upon the size of the integration. And while we're on site, you'll actually be running live production, training your people both in the office and on the floor so that you can be running live while we are on online. So, okay, so I told us that I am a customer. Dudley was our tech. Yeah, so you can get with your salesperson and they can help you select what amount of online or on-site training that you might want in addition to what you have. What if you have product that is not going through that? Graphic, signage, furniture, great. Let me give you an example of this, if I can just get it out of the way. So I have the ability to just right-click and add an item. So I'm going to say, hey, I need to produce 12 widgets, and I want to give some basic information about height, width, depth, whatever it is that I want to do. Finish, comment, whatever. Once I do that, now you'll see that these items are now, and I even made them individual so that they have a unique ID to them. So you can literally just right-click and add custom drywall, wall paneling, molding, whatever it is that might not be in your data. We also give you the ability, instead of entering things manually, to be able to supplement, for example, the microvellum data with data from an Excel spreadsheet. So we could, maybe you've got a checklist of things, seam fill, hardware bag, molding bundles, whatever it is, and we could merge that Excel data directly into the microvellum work order as well. So we'll definitely help you with those kinds of things. Okay, what else do we have for questions? Okay, as far as I can see, I believe that I answered all of the questions for today. Please do let us know what you thought of the webcast so that we can make future webcasts even better. I know I went pretty fast today, but I wanted to make sure that we got through some of the bigger elements of things. There's, of course, things that we haven't even talked about today, smart labels on demand, things like big data, business intelligence dashboards, just to give you a couple quickies on this kind of stuff. Basically a way to have collections of data over time to tell us exactly what it is that we might want to see, whether it's looking at by job, by product, by whatever it is that you want to see, by end dates, to be able to give you real great information. For example, if I said to you, how many dollars did you sell last month, you probably know those. If I said to you, how many wall cabinets did you ship, you probably don't know that. There could be information that would be very helpful for you to be able to know and gauge about your production, about the history of what Production Coach is doing for you. I would also just give you a quick second here on the business intelligence dashboard. This could be an important thing to know and understand a little bit relative to what we're working on. There we go. So here, the business intelligence dashboard is displaying for us a variety of things. Excel decides to open. Just a moment, please. Okay, you should be done. Okay, very good. Sorry for the little delay, but this will show you now the business intelligence dashboard. This is basically live monitoring of your factory. Here, there's a variety of things that we're doing for you. First of all, we want to show you whether you have a balanced workflow. As you might imagine, because we're doing all this tracking, we know how much each station is doing, and obviously you want to keep that line as flat as it can. Because we know the amount that we're doing at each station, we also know the amount that's building up in between stations, so we could be automatically alerting you if you're creating bottlenecks or constraints by having too much or too little building up between stations. We're manufacturing the quality. If you're creating damaged and missing parts, that's not quality. So to give you those kind of factors, as well as displaying for you your performance by workstation, to be able to see how close we're coming to meeting productivity goals, even dividing that up into quarters of days so that you're getting real relevant information. And obviously we do this in real time, but we also do this in a deferred mode, so you're able to see data over whatever period you want. So for example, I want to know over the last 6 months, what was the leading cause of damaged parts in my factory? Well, here I can see it was by cutting. So maybe I need to do some operator training or machine maintenance or something to be able to be taking corrective action with this big data or historical information of what's happening. So not only is it helping you produce and ship and track work orders on the fly, we're also keeping track of that data and making it available in a collective form to empower you to make better decisions about your factory as well. So anyway, I appreciate so much the time that you guys afforded me today, and I hope it was a reasonable tour of Production Coach. It's an exciting product with a tremendous ROI and an ability to make this happen. If we do the project, we know that we will be going live while we're in your factory, and being able to have the software implemented and working for you quickly, I believe is a really, really big deal. So again, please visit us at rsasolutions.com. Thank you for your time today, and hope to hear from you soon. Have a blessed day.